Reputation effects are a very important concept to understand. It plays a role within the industry. It also plays a role within the market and the marketing of your new venture. What we mean by reputation effects are the role that the name of the company, that the reputation of the company, and the perception of the company plays within your brand. Customers often prefer to buy from organizations and companies that they have some perception of, that they have a positive reputation. So in that way, customers will look at companies that they may have had successful transactions in the past. They may look to companies that are recommended by friends or family or other trusted sources. Or they may work with companies and try and buy brands that are effective in their branding effort. And when you look at these three and you consider, well, as a new venture, where do I compete? It's typically in that third element. As a brand new venture, customers don't have experience with you. As a brand new venture, customers don't have friends that have an experience with you. But again, as a new venture, you do have the opportunity to shape that brand and begin to establish your reputation within the market and within the industry. What that means for us as startups is think about all of those. Recognize that, again, as a new entrant, people may not necessarily know you, and so it's important, again, to recognize that you need to differentiate from what's out there and get to be known for doing something novel or unique. And that you may have to do discounts, you may do giveaways, you may do other things to push it and get it into the market to help begin to build that brand.
Is branding kind of like marketing then?
Marketing is a pretty broad category. When you look at marketing, marketing is everything from product design, development, advertising, promotion, distribution, pricing. So marketing is a big piece. Advertising is a sliver of that. A lot of people think marketing and advertising are the same thing. Advertising is simply the promotion piece. Marketing also, again, encompasses what should the product look like? What features and form and functions? How should we price it? How are we going to position it in the market? What partners do we want to work with to do that? Should we retail it, wholesale it? If retail it, then with who? Advertising is just the piece of how do we let people know it exists. Branding, in some way, captures facets of each of that. Part of your brand and how you are perceived is based on your advertising. So how is Walmart perceived based on the ads that you see? In a word, how would you describe Walmart based on print ads, TV ads? Cheap. How is Target perceived? Fun. Hip. It's still affordable, but it's a fun brand. And I expect, and I haven't done this, but if we go to the Walmart site,
it's very
it's, and let's just count. So we have savings, we have rollbacks, we have clearance. We have one, let me do it this way. So we have, and I'm just going to count how many times they reference price. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
There's rollbacks. 2 more rollbacks. Rollbacks and clearance right there. 3 at the bottom.
9, 10.
3 right there. 3 at the laptop.
11.
On the bottom right.
12.
Corner. Yeah.
Value.
20 saving offers. Up top left.
14. And that's not even the home page. That's what just loads in our view from the beginning. Not an accident. They have people whose job it is to determine what should this look like within that initial view, and what's the messaging and the branding that we want to set forth with that. And they meet and they talk and they go away and they analyze and they meet and they come back and they do eyeball analysis and see what catches you where and what colors and fonts and styles. But the theme is we need to tell you 14 times that you can save money at Walmart. So, Target.
9.
We see some. So I see 1, I see 2, and maybe 3 if we want to count clearance.
For less.
Everyday free.
Save,
Free shipping.
dollar power, savings,
Shipping.
free. Let's see, a clearance,
Style for less.
9,
You can't go
Style for less.
style for less.
11. So quite a few. So they're still emphasizing the pricing. Now let's look for things related to, what did you say, fun or style?
Where else is style?
I kind of like this little setup here. I'll have to check that later. So we have anything else that looks stylish? That's kind of nice. Style here. Trends.
Baby.
Now they're still showing me pictures of Cheez-Its and Pop-Tarts and Pepsi. So that doesn't do a lot for me regarding style.
Where's the pet? It's actually tied.
But we see a few references, 5 references tied to kind of fit and style and form and function. Okay, I'll give them some credit for that. That's all right. Anything else?
Well, the school kind of says fun, but it's not really.
They tell me it's fun in capital letters.
Wait, where?
It's fun starts with.
It's fun. Come here. But we see, again, a little bit of a different fit and function to it, which isn't surprising. And I think it's mirrored in the stores as well. So in that way, again, the reputation should focus on, again, the customers that you're seeking, the brand that you're trying to establish. And we even see things that might be similar price points, but that the brand positioning is very different. So what's an expensive traditional brand apparel that arguably it looks now like it did 10 years ago? What do you think?
Abercrombie.
Okay, so Abercrombie looks the same now as it did 10 years ago? Polo. I could have bought this shirt in 1974 and it would have looked the exact same way. So we see Polo to some extent. We see Brooks Brothers to some extent. It looks like it's always looked. Hasn't changed very much. But still a higher price point, not the highest. But we see other things that are similar price points that are very fashion, that are very modern. What brands come to mind there?
Zara.
Tell me again.
Zara.
Zara, I don't know that one. Zara, I don't know that one either.
That's the same thing.
Brands you haven't heard of are probably more modern. And there are others. I think Banana Republic is one that has evolved quite a bit. Banana Republic 20 years ago was a little more like Gap is now. It was fairly inexpensive. It was t-shirts and khaki shorts. And it's changed quite a bit. So in that way, again, price is one indicator or influencer of brand or reputation, but it's also kind of the look, the feel, the style, the benefits. If you want to buy a safe car, what do you buy? A Volvo.
A Honda.
If you want to buy a fast car, you don't.
Bugatti.
You buy not a Volvo. So in that way, it depends on value and what you're looking for. How you build that reputation, how you build that brand, is in large part based on, one, awareness. And we've talked about this before. It's important that people recognize that you exist. It's important that they recognize the quality that you want them to recognize. So in that way, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to produce at the highest quality, but that you have to live up to the reputation that you have claimed to have, and that for what people are spending, they feel like they're getting their value. And you decide where you compete on that quality and price curve. There's an element of association, and what do people think or feel about the brand. And there's an element of loyalty, of can you retain them. And if you can do these, it should result in better retention, higher profitability, better results for your marketing spend. Much easier to keep the customers that you have than to lose them and go out and spend marketing dollars to try and get new ones. And how do you go about doing this? There is that element of communication, there is that element of branding in the context of thinking about sites and cards and logos and trademarks and all these types of things that companies invest in. I would say if you are not a graphic designer, you probably have no business designing a logo for your company. A lot of people do it. A lot of people design their own logo.
Save money.
Let me save a few bucks. You may be able to get by developing your own website if you use some tools that are out there. But I would say as soon as you can, hire somebody that knows how to do that and does it professionally. So again, sometimes we start with not much money and we just do the best we can with it, but I would say, particularly as you're able to get some money, or if you are a web-based company, your website should look pretty good. If you're a coffee shop, you may want a website, but you probably shouldn't spend $50,000 on it. But if you're a software firm and people are coming to the site, or you're an online retailer and people are coming to the site, and that's what it is that is your core offering, it should be quite good. And just because you can figure out kind of how to save a few dollars doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help your brand or company in the end. Also, there's this element of loyalty, and we see that in a variety of different ways, and companies doing this in lots of different ways. So I would think about that too in the context of what are ways that you can incentivize or reward your customers. And companies do it in different ways. Panera is one of the cafe food retailer. They run a little bit like a lottery, in that you have your Panera card and they swipe it, and every third or fourth or fifth time you go, you're going to get a drink or a muffin or a sandwich. But you never really know. Today you have $1 off of a coffee. Would you like to use it? Well, no, I'm here in the evening. I don't drink coffee at night, but I'll use it next time. And the next day it might be breakfast and you get a salad for half price. But it's not really salad time, so I'll hold on to that. So you can accumulate things, but it's a little bit of a lottery. You never really know what you're going to get. Others, like Target, 5% back. So if you're their member, you save 5% all the time. So in that way, again, there are different things that you might want to think about to try and induce loyalty and give rewards for customers if it makes sense within your industry. So in this consideration of reputation and reputation effects, two key takeaways we'd like to share. One is, how can you make the reputation of competitors irrelevant? And what we mean by that is that to the extent you can do something that's truly innovative, or do something that's truly new, you might make what they're known for doing irrelevant, and that you do something that's different and you bring enhanced value or different value to your customers than your competitors, and thereby make the competition's brand irrelevant. What you can also do when you look at how do you build reputation is recognize this element of what can I do to build reputation relatively affordably and relatively quickly. And so in that way we see a number of new things that are coming to play by way of social media, by way of trying to get interesting products out there and leverage public relations to get positive brand and perception as well. And we'll talk about some of those, but these are two central takeaways to think about as you're considering the reputation of your firm.